Welcome to Ground Control and another episode of the Pilot's Lounge. Alright, so I thought it was time for another episode because I've got a lot of information I want to get out. First I want to talk about affiliate links. We always provide affiliate links in the show notes to any item that we're evaluating, testing, reviewing, whatever. I want to thank you guys that have used our affiliate links when you make a purchase based on our testing, evaluation, and reviews of a product. Now, we get a tiny commission off of those sales, but that's not the most important thing to us. The most important thing to us is when a vendor or a manufacturer sends us an item to review, they only do that because they want to benefit from it, right? That's the name of the game. So if you make a purchase based on our review, evaluation, or testing, please use our affiliate link. Because more important to us than the tiny commission that we get off of the sale is that the vendor or the manufacturer see that they are getting a benefit from sending us the product to review. Now, I can't always recommend a product that they send me for review. Some of them are just stinkers, and when they are, I tell you they are. When it's a good product that we review, I tell you that too. And so hopefully you base your decision on that. But if you use our affiliate account, it gives us credit with the vendor or the manufacturer to let them know that they are receiving a benefit from sending us an item for review. If they don't see that benefit, then they won't send an item for review. It's as simple as that. So that's the thing that really helps us out the most if you use our affiliate account, is they see that we are driving sales from our review or evaluation or testing. Okay. Patrons, I've picked up a couple more patrons lately. I want to thank you guys so much for your support. Not only do you support us by becoming patrons, but then you support us financially at the same time. That's very humbling to me that people would do that, and I greatly appreciate that. You guys are awesome with your support, and you're also very generous, and it is greatly appreciated. And I know who you are, and I really appreciate you. Thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel. Thank you for commenting on our YouTube channel. I really enjoy getting comments from viewers, and I do my best to respond to all the comments. If I have missed your comment, it wasn't intentional. Either I didn't see it, or I just didn't have time to respond to all the comments. But I really appreciate it. I get a lot of great feedback from people, a lot of great suggestions from people, and so it's great to have that communication. You have more of a sense of community on the YouTube channel and on the Facebook page when you have that two-way communication with the people that actually watch what you do and comment on it. So that's greatly appreciated. I don't know if you follow us on Facebook. I've had a couple of comments from people that were requesting setup files or model files on aircraft that we've flown and reviewed and gotten it set up the way we liked it. They just don't do social media, and I understand that. I don't like social media. But unfortunately, that's the way most people want to communicate these days. It's also the way most of the vendors and manufacturers want to communicate, is through social media. So that's the reason that I set up the Facebook page to begin with. And it also allows me to have a place where I can publish information that either doesn't require a video at all, or it just requires a very short video. And there's no sense in posting that on YouTube if it's just an informational video, a very short one. So anything that doesn't require a lengthy video, or anything more than like a 4-minute video, then we're going to post it on our Facebook page. Any information that doesn't require a video at all, we post on our Facebook page. That's the easiest way for us to get the information to you. Whether it's a tip or a setup file for an aircraft or a model file for an aircraft. I've just recently published my setup, my completed setup file for this Eachine 50mm EDF, this F-16, as well as my model file. It takes me a while, it takes me a few flight sessions to get my setup to where it feels really good in the air. It feels locked in. I've got the amount of control surface deflection, but not too much. You know, I want it to have a lot of maneuverability, but I also want it to feel smooth. I don't want it to feel twitchy. I don't want it to feel mushy. You've got to get that Goldilocks zone on your control, on your aircraft. And once I get it to that point, then I publish my setup file and I publish my model files. And that information should give you an excellent starting point for a successful maiden flight. I mean, basically that's why I'm doing that. Because if you decide to buy a product based on our review, I want to provide you with the information to give you the best chance of a successful maiden flight that I can give you. And that's with the same setup that I used on the aircraft that I'm comfortable with. I just have an intermediate skill level. So most of the people I think out there will at least benefit from the setup and the model files that we provide, because you know nothing's going to be way off. It may not match your flying style, but it's going to give you a very successful maiden flight, an excellent place to start, and then you know modify the setup to fit your flying style. That's why we do that. Is to help you guys out. Video search. I have been so disappointed the past couple of years with Google. I have used Google search for years, and now if I do a search for a video on Google, it looks like it's the results. The pages are so outdated in the way they look, number one, and number two, most of the search results that come back seem to be irrelevant to what I'm searching for. So I recently tried out 3 different search engines for video searches, because that's usually what I'm looking for. I'm looking for either an evaluation of something, or I'm looking for a tutorial on something, some kind of information, and I like to watch the video stuff, you know, rather than just reading text. So I do a video search. So I tried DuckDuckGo search engine, I tried Yahoo search engine, and I tried Bing search engine, and you know what I found? Their video search results were 10 times better than Google. Sometimes Google, on the search result, you don't even get a thumbnail of the video, and the thumbnails are so tiny you really can't even tell what's going on in the video thumbnail. On the other 3 search engines that I checked, every result had a video thumbnail, and it was a pretty large thumbnail, and you could see, you know, from the thumbnail what was going on, you know, what the video was about. So if you haven't tried something other than Google recently for your video searches, try DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, and Bing, and check those results against what you're getting from Google, and then come back and tell me what you think. My default search engine now on my computer is DuckDuckGo, because they don't do all this tracking and advertising and all that kind of crap. And the search results that I received from it were excellent. So check out those additional search engines instead of Google. I think you'll find you'll spend a lot less time, you know, searching for what you're looking for. The search results will be more relevant, and the thumbnails are large enough you can tell what the heck's going on. Okay, and before I move on to the next subject, I meant to mention something else about the affiliate account, and I won't speak about the affiliate account anymore. But this Eachine F-16, this 50mm EDF jet, we were one of the very first selected to review this product, and it's a brand new product that just came out. The number of times that has happened for ground control RC, I could probably count on 2 fingers. I think this is only the 2nd time that we've ever been selected to review a product that just hit the market. I'm usually reviewing something that's been out for quite a while. That's a huge benefit to us, and hopefully it's a big benefit to you too, because we do our best. We don't do a one and done review video of a product. We try to find the full capability of the product, demonstrate the full capability of the product, and then provide you with the setup files and the model files so that you can be successful with it. So unless it's just a complete stinker, you won't ever see me do a one and done video like a lot of other reviewers do. So that's the primary reason that you guys using the affiliate account is so important to us, because otherwise we would never have been selected as one of the first people to review this product. We would never have received this product right out of the gate to review. So anyway, that's the last I'll say about that. Okay, but I have this up here for another reason, and it's a tip. And I call it our aircraft rattle test. It's ground control RC rattle test on your aircraft. Okay, now I started doing this, maybe it was a year ago, 2 years ago. I had received a ready-to-fly microplane for review. And they were sending me, it came like in a 1 battery version, a 2 battery version, and a 3 battery version. And they sent me the 3 battery version. And trying to find these lipos sometimes is like an Easter egg hunt. You know, you got to go through all the packing material, you got to look at all the compartments. And so I found one of the batteries that was in the battery bay on the aircraft. And one of the other batteries was in the battery bay on the stock transmitter. I couldn't find the 3rd battery. I went through all the packing material, I couldn't find it, and I thought, well, I just forgot to pack the 3rd battery, that's all there is to it. So one of the first things I do with the plane is I put the battery in the battery compartment, and then I put my fingers underneath the wings and see where it balances to see, you know, if it looks like the CG is going to be way off. Is it going to be really nose heavy? Is it going to be really tail heavy? Well, I picked it up about 30% back on the root cord of the wing from the leading edge of the wing, which is normally, you know, pretty close to where the CG should be, and that tail just dropped. And I thought, oh my gosh, this thing is so tail heavy, it would do a loop after I launched it without doing anything on the controls. I was like, there's no way this plane is this tail heavy. And I picked it up and I heard something slide in the fuselage. And I thought, what the heck is that? Did a servo come loose? It didn't dawn on me yet. You know, I was a little slow that day. Hadn't dawned on me yet. So I opened up one of the compartments on the fuselage, and lo and behold, the battery was stuck. The 3rd battery was stuck back in the fuselage, and it had slid all the way to the end of the fuselage, which of course made the plane extremely tail heavy. So I had found my 3rd battery and found why this plane was so tail heavy when I tried to balance it. So from that point forward, what I do with all my planes is I fasten everything down. You know, if there's any assembly, I get it all assembled. I tape down, I use some painter's tape, and I tape down my power lead from the ESC and my servo cables and stuff. If I haven't got my receiver in there, I tape all that stuff down with painter's tape so it doesn't move, and then I take the plane and I shake it. I shake it and see if there's anything rattling in it, because you never know, right? And that's how I found. That's how I found that the ESC wires and the servo wires for the elevator servos were loose inside this plane. Was using my rattle test. I could hear them rattling back there. Of course, I didn't know that's what it was at the time. I thought the EDF unit was loose, that the EDF unit wasn't secure. So that's why I pulled this. That's why I pulled this panhole off down here on the bottom of the fuselage, because I thought I was going to have to figure out a way to secure the EDF unit. And lo and behold, when I got that off of there, the EDF unit was secure. It was those 3 cables rattling back and forth. So that's how I found that. So and gave you that tip in the assembly instructions. I think it was during the first review video. But I'm glad I did that rattle test, because if I had not done that rattle test, I wouldn't have found those loose cables. So, this is a tip for you going forward. From now on with your aircraft, before you throw them in the air, tie down anything that you know is loose, and then give it a rattle test. And make sure that everything is secure, that there's not something in the fuselage that shouldn't be there, like a lipo. or a loose servo, or loose cables, or loose motor mount, or whatever. But make sure you do the rattle test. It might save you an aircraft. And I would say it certainly saved this aircraft for me, because I found out later that another reviewer had a failed launch because the EDF unit ate his cables. So, I felt bad for him for that, but luckily I found him because I did the rattle test. Don't forget to do that. That certainly saved this plane for me. I would have had the same results probably that he had. So anyway, do your rattle test on your aircraft. All right, projects. I've had to put the brushless conversion of the Volantex Sport Cub 500 on hold for a little bit because I received items to review. So it's probably going to be another week before I have an opportunity to work on that some more. I've been putting up images and posts on my progress on that plane. So most of the hard part's done already. I've had to solder up a lot of stuff for the power system. I've had to change the leads on the servos because I thought I still had some servos with 1.0 millimeter pitch connectors on the end, those little tiny micro connectors, and I didn't. So luckily I had some pigtails with those connectors on it, so I've had to cut leads off of servos and solder new leads onto them. So that slowed me down a little bit, and then when this item came and I'm working on a F-86 Sabre jet, I had to set it aside for a while because I just didn't have time. I'm going to try to pick it back up again next week. Hopefully in a couple of weekends I'll have it in the air with the brushless conversion testing it out. So look for that. OpenTX model files and my setup files. I had been publishing those in groups because I had so many accumulated. So going forward, I'm just going to publish them one at a time. I've already published the setup file and the OpenTX file for this. I'll be publishing the setup file and the OpenTX file for the F-86 Sabre jet 64 millimeter EDF. I'll be publishing my setup file, my model file for the Phoenix version 2 2-meter wingspan sport aerobatic glider, and another awesome plane that I'm just having a blast with. And it also has the model file also has the configuration in there for the full span ailerons, using the flaps as flaps when you want to use them as flaps, and then when you're not using them as flaps, they work as full span ailerons. So that will be on that file too. So I will try to get that out as quickly as I can. All right. Okay, so that takes care of the ongoing projects I've got right now. Aircraft. I've had some firsts this year. This year I got to fly my very first sport aerobatic gliders. I absolutely love those gliders, and I am hooked on those aerobatic sport gliders now. They are so much fun to fly. And the sound of those things cutting through the air when you come close to yourself at fast speed, it's awesome. It's like flying a roller coaster. You're applying power to get to the top of the hill, and then you just glide forever with those things. I mean, you have to experience it, I think, to really appreciate it. Before I flew my very first aerobatic sport glider this year, I was not interested in those at all. They just didn't have any appeal for me until I flew one. And it's a very different experience, and they fly awesome. They're extremely stable. They're pretty aerobatic. They have a lot more power than I ever suspected they would, which for me makes them extremely fun to fly. And so I just have a blast with them. If you guys have never flown one of these sport aerobatic gliders, man, you need to try it out. I can't imagine somebody not having fun with one of those things. So that was a first for me this year. These sport aerobatic gliders. I will always have one in my hangar. I'll tell you that. My first EDF jets. As a matter of fact, this F-86 right here F-86 Sabre 64mm EDF. It's a Freewing model. First EDF jet I ever attempted to put in the air. Now, by the time that you guys watch this, by the time that I post this episode of the Pilot's Lounge, I will have already posted my review videos on this F-86 Sabre jet. So you know I don't care for it all that much, right? It's very underpowered. You should have already seen the video after I cut the air inlet holes in the sides of the fuselage, because this EDF unit was being starved of air. Once I cut those holes, those air inlet holes in the side of the fuselage, not only did it provide more power, more thrust for this F-86, it did so pulling 2.5 fewer amps than before I put those air inlet holes in there. Now I don't have my nice louvers on there yet, but I do have my template already made out with all my parts to assemble it and build it. So I'm going to get those on there as soon as I can. But it was a huge improvement. After putting the air inlet holes in here, I could successfully and consistently get this F-86 in the air, but it was still marginal on power. I mean, you couldn't do much with it. You know, you really had to finesse your loops, you had to finesse your split S maneuvers. The rolls, of course, are not a problem, but doing other maneuvers, you really had to finesse it, because this thing will tip stall on you too if you go too slow. So I wasn't impressed with this at all. So my thinking was to replace that 30 amp speed controller with a 40 amp speed controller and run it off of a 4S LiPo. That's what I was contemplating doing. But then it occurred to me that, you know, after cutting the holes, the air inlet holes in here, before I cut those in, the motor at full throttle, the EDF unit at full throttle was pulling, I think, about 26.5 amps. Once I cut these air inlet holes in here and ran it up to full throttle on a 3S LiPo, it was the amp draw at full throttle was down to 24.3 amps. So I thought that's quite a bit of headroom for that 30 amp speed controller. So I thought, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do before I change anything else on it. Before I change out the ESC, I took a 4S LiPo and I connected it up, and I limited the upper range of my throttle at about 60%. I didn't know how much faster it was going to spin that EDF unit. So I ran it up to 60%, and I had some headroom on the 30 amp ESC. So then I set it up to 65% and ran it up to 65%. And I still had a little headroom on that speed controller, that 30 amp speed controller. So I bumped the top end of the throttle up to 70% and ran it up. And there was significantly more power. I mean, that motor was turning a lot faster at 70% throttle on a 4S LiPo than it was on a 3S LiPo at full throttle. But I had my hand on it when I was running it up on the load meter, but there was also significantly more vibration in the EDF unit running it up on a 4S at 70% throttle. So I don't know if my EDF unit could handle full throttle on 4S LiPo. I just think there would be way too much vibration in it. I don't think the EDF unit in this is balanced all that well for a 4S setup. So I decided to keep it there. So I refer to this as a 3S Plus power system. You've got a lot more power than you have on a 3S at full throttle, but less power than you have with a 4S at full throttle. So it's in between a 3S and 4S power, so I refer to it as a 3S Plus power system. Alright, so I'm going to be posting my first flight video of this F-86 Sabre jet this Saturday morning on this 3S Plus power system. Okay, this F-86 Sabre jet now has got tons of power. It is an absolute blast to fly now, and I didn't have to change any electronics in it. The only thing that I had to do was cut out these air inlet holes, put a small 4S LiPo in it, and limit the top end of the throttle at 70%. Full throttle at 70% on that 4S LiPo, it's pulling 30.15 amps. Okay, and I'm only at full throttle for probably somewhere between 4 to 6 seconds max, and it's normally only when I'm pulling completely vertical with it. If that 30 amp speed controller can't handle that for 5 or 6 seconds, then it's a piece of junk, in my opinion. So far so good. I've put 3 flights on it so far that you'll see on Saturday. And this thing is so fun flying now on that 3S Plus power system. I'm going to have it back up in the air as soon as the weather permits. And then I'll post those videos when I get more, I'll be more comfortable with it, with that kind of power and that kind of speed. But it is a different plane now than where I started, man. I received a lemon, and I had to squeeze that lemon really hard to get some lemonade out of it. But it's there now, and what a blast, what a blast. That's the way I'm going to be flying it from now on, with a 3S Plus power system. And oh my gosh, that setting it up that way, that's going to work on 2 or 3 additional planes that I have. So you just wait. You just wait and see what plane I take out next. It's going to have a 4S Plus, a 3S Plus power system in it. But man, and I'm going to get as much flight time out of it now as I was getting on the 3S only power system. I'm real happy about that. So watch for that on Saturday. I was completely impressed. I was completely impressed with the performance of this jet with that 3S Plus power system. It's a completely different jet now. So wait and see on Saturday. Okay, last segment. Items in the pipe. Coming down the pipe. Alright, so I'm hoping that the next aircraft that I have in the air, the next aircraft that I'm going to try to have in the air is the Conscendo Evolution 1.5 meter wingspan sport aerobatic glider. I wanted to get some practice on the other ones before I put that one in the air. So now I think I'm ready to put that one in the air. And I have one that is inbound that I have not received yet, so don't get your hopes up too much. It could be completely destroyed by the shipping company. But it's the Eachine Atomic RC Wing G1500 1.5 meter FPV platform, plug and play. It's a glider that's designed for FPV and like GoPro camera, I assume for long range flight. And it has a pusher, a pylon pusher motor on it. Now, I already have one plane like that I absolutely love. So, it's a 1.2 meter. So I'm hoping that this 1.5 meter FPV glider is really what it is. It's a lot of fun to fly. I think it will be. And I'm hoping that ground control will be one of the first to be able to post a review flight video of that aircraft as well, because it's a brand new aircraft. So, and then the Volantex Phoenix S 1.5 meter sport glider. I searched and searched and searched for replacement parts for my top RC Lightning V2, and I cannot find parts for that anywhere except in the UK, and I'm not going to pay shipping to have those components shipped here from the UK from a hobby shop there. So I bought the Volantex Phoenix S 1.5 meter sport glider kit to move all the electronics out of the Lightning V2 and into it. So it should perform extremely well, because the Lightning 1.5 meter certainly did with those electronics. So I am really looking forward to getting that one in the air as well. So anyway, that's all the information I have for you. It's a lot more information than I thought I had before I started this segment, or this episode. But I'll continue to make these episodes as more and more information accumulates that I need to disseminate that, you don't need a video for, right? For each individual topic. So I try to put all this information out here. So anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget, watch for this flight video on Saturday. This thing is a little rocket now, and I will see you in the air.